Yay! Okay, can you hear me? I couldn't figure out how to turn that microphone back on. Woohoo! All right, I can actually see everything today. I can see the chat. I can see. This is amazing. Hello again. So I was hoping to get all of this carved last night, and that was completely unrealistic. Um, and yeah, there was absolutely no way. So I'm carving more polyfoam today, but that's all right because there's a lot of carving to do. And this is actually kind of the biggest part of this entire job. And I knew going in that this was going to be the biggest part of this entire job. So, and actually this isn't even all of it because I've got this giant piece that I'm carving, and then that piece, which is pretty much done, almost. And then I was saying yesterday that they're not quite tall enough, so I'm going to have to glue some extra pieces and cut them to the right size so that I can attach those to these to make it all long enough. And yeah, so it's a whole bunch. And then what I'm planning to do, gosh, if I can get this all cut, actually, I should really probably be carving while I'm talking. If I can get all of this cut today, which I'm hoping will happen, I'd like to be able to glue on the muslin to the back of it because that's going to help it to be a little sturdier, especially in places where the cuts are really deep and kind of hold it all together, especially because I've got a piece that is going to be attached to the top of this, and I want to make sure that they don't separate. Oh yeah, for those of you who just tuned in, I guess I probably should have said what the whole goal in this is. I am a stilt walker, and I had an idea for a costume that I think is going to be really kind of cool. It's a dryad costume, and because the first thing I have to think about when creating a stilt costume is what I'm going to cover the stilts with. I have these tree trunk stilt covers that I'm making out of polyfoam. So right now I've drawn all of this tree pattern, and I'm cutting everything out of the polyfoam, which is a really, really long process. Because if this thing is cool, I'm going to submit it for the TwitchCon cosplay. And if it's not, it's still something I can use for lots of other things. I do stilt walking all over the place. But because if I'm to submit it, I have to have 15 hours of stream time. And I've never streamed something like costume making, so that was kind of a cool idea. And so yeah, I wasn't so sure that watching somebody carve polyfoam was going to be interesting. I'm still not convinced that watching somebody carve polyfoam is interesting, but here I am carving polyfoam. I realized also I didn't really talk much about what I was actually doing yesterday. I was more talking about stilt walking in general. So essentially, in order to get these deep grooves, I said a little bit that the original idea was to cut at angles inwards in kind of a V shape. It's probably realistic if you don't have to carve the amount that I'm having to carve. But what I found is way easier is just almost carving straight down. I mean, trying to get a little bit of an angle, but I don't get much of an angle out of it. I get more of a straight down cut of about I think this is 1 inch. Yeah, this is 1 inch polyfoam. So I'm trying not to go more than half an inch down. I'm trying to stick to about 1/4 of an inch when I can, but a lot of these cuts are ending up a little closer to half an inch. Just because it's a little bit hard to control exactly how deep the cut is. So I fell down the rabbit hole the other day of internet searches, those crazy, ooh, what's this that people are doing? Let me see if I can find out more about that. And I was researching this thing that I had no clue about called ASMR, where it's all about audio feedback, and it's I don't know, it's weird, it's audio things. I mean, there's a ton of it on Twitch and all over the place, and oh gosh, people were squeezing clay and stuff. Anyway, it sounded like the audio on the I probably should keep the knife away from my ear, huh? The audio on the feedback of the thing that people were squeezing sounds a lot like cutting foam. So I don't know, maybe for some people out there, this is a really relaxing sound. Of course, you can't hear it over my voice, so here, I'll be really quiet for a minute. See if this is a relaxing sound to you. I don't know, can you even hear that? Oh, I should really keep an eye on the chat, too. Why not do the muslin first? I could do the muslin, but because I have to attach a second piece, it makes more sense to cut the entire sheet. And working with this size is awkward enough. Working with this size plus another 12 inches would take even more table that I don't have up. So I figured it was easier to get the carving done, and that way I could see exactly what size muslin I needed and glue it all down. The original plan was that I was going to carve and then paint and then attach the muslin and then do any touch-up work. But I think at this point it's going to make more sense, because I want to keep my painting really consistent, to do this carving, attach the second pieces, and then do the second carving on those little, the 12-inch top pieces that I'm doing. And attach the muslin either before or after I do the second carving. But paint it all after I attach the muslin. I'm wondering how much painting I'm actually going to be able to do on stream, because spray paint is a whole lot easier for something of this size. I'm sure airbrushing type work is what a lot of people would do, but I don't have all that equipment, so spray paint also works pretty well, and it's a whole lot cheaper. But that I have to do outside, and that's really hard to stream. However, I do need a dark color in all of these cracks here, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to achieve that in the way I want with spray paint, because since this is going to be on a stilt cover and it's going to be pulled into a round shape like that. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, since it's going to be pulled into a round shape, if I paint it flat, the second I turn it, we're going to see white through it. So I'm probably going to end up having to hand paint black in all of these cracks, which is going to be probably another really, really, really long process. But that's okay. It probably won't be as long a process as carving the bits. So, and if I put some water into the paint, maybe use an acrylic, it should be a fast enough process and it should absorb in pretty well. But the muslin will add another protective layer to that process too. My biggest concern, because I realized I was going to have to use two pieces, was my tweet prophetic. I don't know. What was the tweet? I don't remember. Which one? Oh, you'll have to remind me. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, shoot. And I lost my train of thought. I do that. Oh, yeah. One of my biggest worries about having to have two pieces, because this polyfoam was just a little short of what I needed, was that once I attached it to stilts and everything and started walking around and weight got on it, that the whole thing was just going to fall apart. That's part of the reason for the muslin. But I also realized that when I actually attach this to the stilts, because I'm probably going to have to attach it. I don't know if you can see this or not. I'll pull it up. Okay, so there's are my stilts. Let me move them down a little bit. Okay, so that's the foot right here. And it's got like this grip on the bottom of it, if you can see that. And that helps prevent me from falling over, which is always nice. They're adjustable right here. So generally, I like having them on about 4s. This is the 4th hole. They go up a lot higher than that. They go up to about 8s. The reason I like them about here is because it gives me enough height to look impressive, but I can still get down to the level of people I'm interacting with. I can squat down. I can hold little kids' hands. I can Yeah, I can interact better. Higher is better if I'm just going to walk in a parade or something and I'm not going to be interacting with anybody. But this is a really nice height for interaction. And since most of the events I do, I'm going to be taking pictures and interacting in some way, this is really good. And then let me see, those springs just help to keep it balanced forward and backward and move the stilt as I'm walking. You can kind of see them as I'm up here. That's the foot plate. And you can kind of see, let me put it at a good angle. So that's my heel plate, and I have small feet, so I have to adjust the toe strap so that it actually fits on my feet, because if I put it here, it slips off the end of my shoe. I wear tennis shoes with them. And then this goes around right underneath my knee. So when I attach these, like if I put the stilt on the floor here and then put the stilt cover right next to it, it goes up to there. But the good thing about that is it means that I'm going to be able to attach these to the stilt, not permanently. I'm going to have to create some sort of a Velcro thing that I can attach and then detach. I can attach them probably right here and here. And then maybe right above the foot plate, like here and here. But everything that's going to be attached to a stilt that might pull a little bit is going to be on that main piece of foam, meaning the part that's extending upwards from about here to here shouldn't have any weight on it and shouldn't be pulling very much. So hopefully the thing won't pull apart, because that was kind of my biggest concern going in, is I don't want tree trunks falling apart while I'm walking, because that would completely suck. Those stilts, by the way, just in case you're interested, because there may be people out there who can't hear the carving over the voice in the background. Please don't gesture with sharp knives. I'll try not to. Love you. So I just caught up on things that I hadn't read before. So those of you who don't know a lot about stilts or haven't walked stilts or have walked stilts and are going, well, those stilts look a little bit different than the stilts that I've walked. Most stilts that people are familiar with are called drywall stilts. And drywall stilts are very similar. They have one bar that's on the outside of the foot, like on the outside of the leg. They don't have that inner bar. These are called S2s, and I love them so much. They're a little bit more lightweight. The metal is aluminum, so it's a little bit more lightweight technically than a drywall, although the weight is about the same, if not a little bit heavier probably, because you've got the extra bar. But having that extra bar is really great for stability, which means if you're doing drywall and you're just pretty much standing in one place all day, having a bar on just the outside of your leg isn't a big deal. It does tend to pull your legs out a little bit, but if you're doing a lot of walking or dancing or, I don't know, moving all over the place and taking pictures with people and squatting down and things like that, it helps to have the extra stability. And I like being able to move around. When I first trained, I trained on both drywalls and S2s. And there were another set of stilts that at that time were brand new and experimental. There was a local person in Orlando who had designed them, and they were called Bigfoot stilts. And they're still around, and they use them a lot at Disney at the time, and this may have changed since because I haven't really kept up on the Bigfoot stilt development. At the time, once the design got finalized and they started selling them, I was a little bit too short for them because they were a very standard size from foot to right below the knee. And if your leg wasn't quite long enough for them, they were really, really uncomfortable to wear or impossible to wear because they would go up over the knee, and the stilt has to stay under the knee for you to be able to bend and be flexible. But the neat thing about Bigfoots is they have it's really hard to describe how they do it, but the foot moves, like the toe and the heel move more like a real person's foot, which is really weird and scary when you first put them on because you're used to walking with kind of a flat foot. but it moves kind of more like the human body. And so once you realize that you can move your toe and your heel and everything else, it's really cool. And I've seen people do some amazing tricks on them and things like that. So we had some Bigfoots that we were working with when those were kind of still in the development phase, but they're a lot more expensive and they're harder for people to be able to switch around from, you know, this person wears it this day and then this person wears it that day. And so they ended up going mainly with drywalls and S2s and variations on those. One of the difficulties with S2s is, or at least the ones that are made of aluminum like mine, is they don't hold as much weight. I think they're supposed to go up to 180 pounds or something, which is all well and good if you're female or if you're a smaller male. But for some of the bigger guys, especially people who are rougher on their stilts, they they jump around and dance around and that sort of thing. They would bend them and break them, which is not good for people or stilts or having to spend lots of money on buying new stilts. So they had to have drywalls and stronger versions of those in order to accommodate some of their bigger or more rambunctious people. But I've had these for a long time. I love them. I haven't had to replace them. I have to replace the foot pads when they get worn down because they get slippery. But they've been really, really good for me. Speaking of slippery, one of the gigs I did for a long time was at Margaritaville. I worked with a company that did balloon animals for them, which sounds like it's a lot of fun. I hate making balloon animals. I hate it. Because I'm not very good at it. I really am not. I learned exactly what I needed to learn to be able to make balloon stuff at Margaritaville. And luckily, one of the big things there was less balloon animals and more hats and things. And they were fairly simple. I mean, you could just do a balloon that would go around somebody's head and go over the top, and then you could attach the group's hats all together so they were in one giant clump, or put a big heart on top of their head. Or if it was a couple, you could put a heart in between them and attach their hats together. Just a flower, big flower hat. I mean, those are all fairly simple to make and only take a couple of balloons. And so I defaulted to a lot of those because, like, the first stilt animal that anybody learns is a dog. I cannot make a good stilt dog to save my life. They're awful. Their necks are too long and they look more like giraffes, or their feet are not even, or oh my gosh, they're just hideous. I tend to default to swords and flowers, and swords and flowers are very similar, at least the versions that I make are. And the nice thing about swords and flowers is they're pretty quick to make, because especially when you've got a bunch of kids around, they get the balloon, they play with the balloon, they pop the balloon, they come back, they want another balloon. And at some point, you feel like you're just making balloons over and over and over for the same children. So, peg stilts. Yeah, maybe later. Yeah, maybe I'll show everybody the peg stilts. Thank you. But yeah, so I was terrible at making balloons. I learned how to make this really cool hat, though. I should make it sometime. It uses 8 balloons, and it's a top hat, and it's really, really cool looking. But the main reason I hate making balloon animals, I got to the point where I would get calls about doing stilt walking gigs, and I would say yes, and then they would add in balloons and say, oh yeah, you make balloons too. And I would start asking ahead of time because I really, really didn't want to end up stuck making balloons. I'll still do it sometimes, but it's rare. But the main thing I hate about them is that there's a latex powder on those long balloons that you make balloon animals out of. And so between tying balloons all day and that latex powder all over your fingers just end up raw and red and covered in latex powder and dried out from that. And it's just gross. And the fingers feel painful and sad, and it's ridiculous. And I can't blow up balloons because I'm kind of asthmatic and I make funny sounds when I try to blow up balloons, and it's ridiculous and people laugh at me. So I have to use balloon pumps, which is fine because lots of people who do balloon stuff use balloon pumps. But sometimes when all the guys are like, look, and blowing up balloons like one after the other, and you're over here like doing balloon pumps, because I'm a little competitive, I feel kind of stupid because I can't blow up the balloons. So, yeah. So I have lots of reasons I don't like making balloon animals, but I can kind of do it. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that topic, but Margaritaville, that's right. What are you making? Oh, I'm making stilt covers. It's going to be a dryad costume. Hi, Carly. I can't even read because it's in a light green. Curly Swan. Hi. Thank you, Ice Girl. Just a little competitive. Balloons are evil. I agree. I mean, they're fine if they're just little round balloons that people play with and things like that. That's okay. But so anyway, when I was doing stilt walking at Margaritaville, going out and dancing on the floor, you know, they'd play certain songs and we danced to those songs, and we had little standard things we did, and it was a fun little gig. What was awful was going to and from our break location, because, you know, every once in a while you got to take a break and sit down and maybe have some water. And in order to get to our break location, we had to walk through the kitchen. And I don't know how many of you have been in restaurant, especially really busy, touristy restaurant kitchens. I certainly hadn't before I did this particular gig. But the floor is just greasy, just not disgustingly greasy like black grease or anything. It looks clean, but there's this thin film of grease all over the floor, which isn't great if you're walking in sturdy shoes, but it's doable, it's bearable. They put mats down and things, especially for the places by the counters where people are actually doing food prep. But in between, it's really slippery. So you try to walk through a greasy, slippery kitchen on a pair of stilts, and you're taking your life into your own hands every time you do it. We would literally, there were times when it was so bad that we'd be walking through the kitchen with our hands on top of the refrigerators as we're walking by, just to make sure we didn't slip and slide and just totally bust in the kitchen. And then we'd leave the kitchen, and there was an elevator behind the kitchen that we had to go into that had a metal floor, of course. So, of course, after walking through this super greasy kitchen, we'd walk into the metal floor elevator, because it was it wasn't a elevator for guests at the restaurant. It was a elevator that was for employees. That went down into the tunnels where people took their breaks and stuff. This was over at Universal. And so, you know, we'd go down an elevator in stilts, and then have to walk. And the floors, once you got down into the tunnels, were concrete, so they weren't quite so bad to walk on. I mean, there were parts that were a little bit smoother, and they weren't as fun, but it wasn't so bad. But walking through that kitchen was a nightmare. I honestly wasn't super, super, super sad to see that gig go, because they changed companies, and another company came in and started doing stilts, and I did not pursue continuing with the other company, because by that point I was like, this was really fun, this was a great little novel thing, and if I never make another balloon animal, I will be okay with that. So, especially when kids are like, can you make a balloon elephant with a giraffe on its back carrying a monkey on a bicycle? You're thinking, this is not a realistic thing to make. Can I just give you a sword? Can you please just take a sword? So. Really so. Well, I don't know everybody's names. She doesn't know who I am. You can't even give me a clue? Just a little clue? You should text me. If you know me, like, well enough to text me. Oh! Do I know? I think I know who you are. Ha ha ha. I figured it out, right? Yes? No? Maybe? So yeah, so Margaritaville stilt walking. What else? So you can't hear this over the sound of the boy. Well, the boys are being kind of quiet now. Maybe you'll be able to hear a little bit of it. Maybe I should set up the really good microphone right next to this, and you can just hear all the of the phone. So a friend of mine recommended that I bring a whiteboard so that I could take notes. So subs, I just want to let you know, I brought my whiteboard today so that I can take notes at any time. So I'm going to write, thanks, subs, with an exclamation point. That's for you. Ha-ha. I need to get some more whiteboards. I started out with a whole bunch of them. I used them at work, and I'm down to just a few. But maybe these are the cheapest whiteboards. I just need to go back to Home Depot or someplace and get more, because what I did was I just went and bought a big sheet. This is just sheets of whiteboard stuff that you get at Home Depot, and gosh, I think I got 6 or 8 whiteboards out of the one sheet. I just bought the sheet and cut it up. Actually, I didn't even cut it up. Sometimes there's an advantage. This is a horrible thing to say. I should not admit to this. Sometimes there's an advantage to being a female in a store like Home Depot, because they generally assume that you're incapable of anything. So whereas they'll make 1 or 2 cuts for you, sometimes if you're like, I just don't have the tools to do that at home, would you mind making a 3rd cut for me? Sometimes they will. And so yeah, so I was able to get 8 cuts out of it because I did not have the tools to do that. I have a jigsaw that I use, but it wouldn't have been so pretty. And but I love my jigsaw. I don't get a lot of chances to use it, but I've made some giant puzzles for kids events that are really neat, where like I get a 2x2 board or even larger and paint a mural or something on it, and then use the jigsaw to cut it up, and it makes a giant puzzle, and kids love it. It's just such a neat game, oversized puzzle game. I've actually let the kids paint the picture as well, like just let them paint the big picture onto the board, and then you cut up the pieces and lacquer it and everything, and they've got their own giant puzzle. It's a fun activity. I should really do that with my own kids one of these days. I think they're old enough that they would really enjoy it and make something kind of cool, or at least the oldest one is. This is one of those activities that you just feel like you've been working on for 20 minutes or an hour or 10 hours and realize that such a small portion is done. Originally, when I started this, I was planning on rounding out every single one of these grooves with the scissors. I don't know if you can see where my scissors are. And, giving it kind of that rounded look. And I realized really early on that was just not realistic, because it is taking long enough to do this, that there was no way I was going to be able to round out everything. I've been trying to just places where the edges look really, really sharp. I've been trying to round them out, but I'm hoping that this thing, I was showing everybody this yesterday. It roughens up wood and stuff. I'm hoping that this will kind of help me to round it out and soften the edges and give this more of a textured look without having to individually cut all of these pieces into rounded portions. And if not, hey, this is an artistic choice. I'm having the edges of the wood carving look harder. That's just the way that this particular wood looks, right? Which do you prefer, stilt meet and greets or like walking a parade? Ooh, it depends on the day. Because meet and greets, I get to talk to people. And on some days, I would say it that way. I get to talk to people. And on some days, I would say, yeah, but still meet and greets, I have to talk to people. Because there are days when I don't feel like it. We're just going and doing a parade and waving. And then being done is just a whole lot easier. I do a parade every year in Howie in the Hills. That's a Christmas parade. And I love these people because by this point I've been doing this for so many years that they know me and they expect that I'm going to be there. And I feel bad because people will come up and I will have no clue who they are because I see so many people in this parade every year. But they feel like they know me because, I mean, they've seen me every year for, I don't even know how long, 8 years, 10 years, something like that. I mean, I was walking this parade before I had kids, and, a lot of them have seen me because my kids will come a lot of times with me or with my mom, and they'll walk around and see the parade. So, they saw me before I had kids. They've seen my kids grow up. And, yeah, it's this neat little event that just kind of feels like this family, I guess. It's neat to just have been a part of something like that for so long. That's an annual thing where you just see people once a year. There's a group there that has llamas, and they paint clown faces on these llamas, and the llamas walk in the parade, and they always have the llamas out before the parade in where the booths are, because they do crafts and things like that, and there's the little llama booth where people come over and they see the llamas. And this one llama one year was the first year I went, this llama was terrified of me. Like, every time I walked within 100 feet of this llama, I mean, from a distance, it was freaking out and rearing back, and it just hated me. And so I stayed away and, respected its space. And the next year, it was still a little freaked out, but it would let me get a little closer. And after all of this time now, this llama has gotten to the point where it lets me feed it treats. And oh gosh, I can't remember his name. I feel really bad. Shoot, I'll think of it later. But it's the same llama. There are a bunch of llamas, but it's this one in particular. And the people that I don't want to be the llama's owner. It sounds so weird, but yeah, they know me by now, and they look forward to me getting there. And every time I get there, oh my gosh, he's so happy to see you. Here's some treats, and it's really funny. So I no longer freak out that particular llama. That's exciting, I guess. There was one year I walked near the llamas in that parade. There was another couple of years where they put me right in front of the fire truck in the parade, which you'd think wouldn't be bad, but the people in the fire truck thought it would be really funny to randomly kind of honk the horn every time they got kind of close to me. They would honk the horn and laugh. I think that they thought it was funny to, I don't know, like, it sounds awful to say they thought it was funny to make me fall over, but, because it's not like they were intentionally trying to make me fall over, but I think they were just trying to startle me. They didn't really realize that I'm pretty stable on these things, and the horn honk is not going to startle me enough to have me fall over. But it was really annoying. I'm no longer in front of the fire truck, though. Now I'm at the end of the parade. Pretty close to right in front of their Santa float, which is also the citrus float. There's this orange juice company in that town that has the best orange juice. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And so they've got this big giant truck trailer thing that pissed off llama that sounds like fiasco. It absolutely does. But I don't like that part right there. Trees aren't perfect. That part's not perfect either. Anyway, they pass out orange juice from this float, and then Santa is on the back of the float. And it may just be because after 2 hours of being on stilts and walking a parade and being exhausted at the end and hungry and thirsty, it may be because of that, and those are really the only times I've had this orange juice. But I would swear that this orange juice is the best orange juice in the entire world. It is so good. I look forward to it every year. It is like manna from heaven. It is so yummy. And I'm afraid to ever actually go there and buy some of the orange juice when I haven't just walked stilts, because I'm afraid that it's going to be really, really ordinary orange juice, and it just tastes so good to me because I only have it after this parade every single year. But my goodness, it's good. Fresh squeezed. That is one thing that Florida does well, is fresh squeezed orange juice. So we hoard that OJ. Yeah, last year I got a few extras and I brought them home. But I didn't get to drink much of it. The kids drank most of it. It was really good. So my youngest would do nothing but drink juice if he could get away with it. He's my juice kid. We work on water, mostly water, but my goodness, if he had the choice, he would drink only juice. He's got a sweet tooth. My oldest only wants to drink water, so between them, they balance out to the perfect amount of juice and water. Though I guess you could argue that it's probably better if you just drink water all the time. Who was asking, how do you get up on these? A ladder. Oh, have I fallen over? I actually was talking about that yesterday. I have fallen twice. You could say 3 times, but I'll tell you that story because I didn't tell you that story yesterday. So the first 2 times I talked about yesterday, it was my first week walking stilts. We hadn't been trained super well. It was more of a publicity event. And so there were certain things that I hadn't really learned to do that I learned the hard way to do before I walked stilts. One of which is check the length of the pants leg on your costume to make sure that when you walk, you're not going to inadvertently catch your toe on your pants leg and then trip over your pants. I learned that lesson by catching the stilt toe on my pants leg and tripping over my pants. Luckily, it was into grass. So that was an important lesson. And then the second lesson was check all of your stilt hardware before you start walking. Because even if it seemed like it was perfectly fine the last time you walked, things may have loosened since that point. And something had loosened up, a bolt had loosened up and came out of my stilts, and so I was essentially standing on one foot. And it kind of felt like it was in slow motion. I just kind of stood there and then slowly fell over because you can only stand on one foot for so long. So 2 important lessons learned. The third time, I don't actually count as falling because I still say to this day, I just changed my seating position. I was walking stilts for, it was some event at Universal. It was Halloween or Mardi Gras or something. I can't even remember. But we didn't really have a great place to break backstage. And so there were all these garbage cans, those like the garbage cans you put out in front of your house that have the long garbage cans with the lids that go over like this. And then there are 2 wheels on the back so that you can push them and roll them out to the curb. And so they had those, and they were all pushed up against this big semi-truck. So I was on my breaks. I was sitting on those garbage cans, or a couple of us sitting on those garbage cans, because we wanted to sit down, and there was really no place to sit down. And this happened on breaks several times during the night. I'd go and I'd sit down, and then I'd get ready to go out on set. And at one point, I came backstage and I sat down on the garbage can again, but I failed to notice that while I was out on set, somebody had moved the garbage can, and rather than the wheels being on the outside, because the wheels were on the outside so I could sit, and I was essentially kind of sitting on top of the wheels, and then the pressure, the force would be pushed towards the semi-truck. Somebody had switched it the other way around, so that, oh, no. It was the other way. It was the wheels were against the semi-truck. That's how it was. Somebody had pushed it the other way around so that when I sat, I was sitting on top of the wheels, which put my weight on top of the wheels, which pushed the garbage can down and underneath the truck. So I kind of sat down, and then the garbage can pushed under the truck, and I was sitting on the ground suddenly. So I don't count it as falling. I count it as changing my seating position from on top of a garbage can to on top of the ground. So, yeah. When I first trained as a stilt walker, they said that there were only 3 rules to walking stilts. The first was don't fall. The second was don't fall. And the third was don't fall. As long as you follow all of those, you'll be just fine. So I tried very hard to follow the rules to stilt walking. We would joke before we went out on set for Mardi Gras and things like that. Because in theater you say break a leg before you go out, and quite often those sorts of events, and you don't want to say break a leg to a stilt walker before they go out on set, because that's just mean. And a lot of times at these events, anytime you get big groups of people together, they can be a little bit rude, and there's always people who think that they're going to push over the stilt walker and that's going to be funny or things like that. Luckily, they underestimate females on stilts. They'll push guys harder than they'll push girls. People are under the impression that they can just go boop and you're going to fall over, which is really not the case if you know what you're doing. But because people could be a little bit aggressive and a little bit stupid, especially at those events where they were drinking a lot, we would joke before we went out on set, instead of saying break a leg, we'd say, break someone's leg. So that's become kind of my inside joke with stilt walking, even though not a lot of people get it that I walk with anymore, because it was more of a back in the day at Universal sort of joke. So anyway, trying to figure out a way to confirm, Curly Swan, who you are without actually saying your name. But you're related to me, right? Now I have to wait for that 20-second delay for you to actually hear that I said that. I forget sometimes that there's a 20 or 30-second delay here. And that I say something and then I have to wait for somebody to actually hear what I said. LOL. Ha ha ha. I think it was right. So, days of walking stilts at a theme park. It got to the point where I stopped doing stuff like that because a lot of those events are 4 or 6 hour shifts, and which is great when you're single and you've got a lot of time on your hands and you don't have any kids, or even when you're not single but you're not thinking about kids and your time commitments and babysitters, and all of a sudden going for a little 4-hour shift or a 5-hour shift when you have to leave an hour or an hour and a half before and you get back an hour or an hour and a half after that, it becomes more expensive to book a babysitter to go work the shift than what you're actually going to make working the shift. And so at a certain point you just go, it was really fun, but it's not quite worth it financially anymore. So if I could go back and work some of those events and just work it for a couple of nights, just for the nostalgia and the fun and talking to people, I would totally do that. But committing to that sort of thing for weeks and weeks and weeks is just not realistic. So, gotta see if I'm still, I'm still in frame. Hang on, I can move it over a little bit. What's your favorite food? Depends on the day. I really like sushi a lot. Sushi is one of my favorites, but I don't get it that often. I love Indian food, which I never realized I did. And we didn't really have Indian food and stuff growing up in my house. But there is a restaurant that is near here called Guru that has the best Indian food. Chicken tikka masala. My oldest child, who is almost 7, his favorite food is chicken tikka masala from this restaurant, which you would think would be a really great thing or a cool thing, you know, that the 6-year-old's favorite food isn't McDonald's or, I don't know, chicken nuggets or something. You know, this sounds like a great idea. I was so happy one day when he said this, until he gets, say, his karate belt, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. You just got this belt that you really, really worked hard for. Where do you want to go eat? And he says, I want to go to Guru and get chicken tikka masala. And then you get the bill for 4 people going to Guru to get chicken tikka masala. And go, why can't your favorite food be Taco Bell? Because this is a lot more expensive. Because it's not terrible. It's, $16, $18 a plate. But we are no longer at the point in our family where we can get away with just getting 2 dishes and just sharing among the 4 of us. Because the 6-year-old has more appetite than I do. And so we're stuck at least having to get 3 plates. And by the time you get 3 plates of food at $16 to $18 a piece, and drinks, well, even if you stick with water, I mean, just even the plates of food, especially if you get like naan bread or something beforehand, and and then pay a tip and everything else, it gets really pricey. So, but I love it. Chicken tikka masala and their chicken korma is really good too. Favorite food? I'm actually a little more into poke right now. Pokey? I don't know what that is. White Girl, what is Poke? See, you live in a place that has way more exotic foods than Hoboken, Central Florida. So this is still kind of a small town. It's growing. It's getting bigger. It's way bigger than it was when I first got here. When I first got here, we had maybe 2 stoplights in the town, but that was many, many years ago. I was going to say Indian food or cold chicken and ham from the fridge. Ooh, I like cold food. I like food that people don't normally eat right out of the fridge. Right out of the fridge. I think if there's cold meatloaf in the fridge, not that there is very often because I don't really make meatloaf, but I will eat that. Oh, cold hibachi, leftover hibachi, the rice and the chicken. Oh, it's so good. Cold pizza, of course, but I don't know. I don't know who doesn't like cold pizza. That's just weird. In our Tuesday night Wicked stream, this is I was talking about yesterday. That's the one that's modern. It's D&D in modern day Boston, and we've got kind of a running joke about cold pineapple pizza because the character that I play likes pineapple pizza, and I don't know, it's just turned into this big thing. We've got another character that, in order to buy something that we needed, we exchanged 7 days of cold pineapple pizza, so he's got deliveries coming to his character of cold pineapple. It's kind of taken off and become its own bit, but to the point that last Tuesday, gosh, what is today, Thursday? Last Tuesday, we just got pizza that night, and we had cold pineapple pizza on stream. And we've actually talked as a group about maybe next week all getting pineapple pizza simultaneously so that we can all be having a pizza party together on stream while we're playing D&D. But we'll all be in different locations all over the country, but eating the same pizza. I think it's amazing. I mean, maybe not exactly the same pizza, but you know what I mean. Oh, it's sushi, but in a bowl. Pokey. Huh. I love sushi. I didn't know that's what it was called. Like, I've had sashimi. I love sashimi. And I love, like, rice. But, yeah. But, well, I guess I learned something new today. So, what is cold pizza is hangover food? Quite possibly. I don't know. I think anything hearty Just hangover food. My hubby swears by like fried chicken. We have I guess I don't know if they're all over the country. They're probably in the South, but we have Cracker Barrel here, which I love going to because generally the service is really fast. And when you have kids, it is a great restaurant to go to because you sit down and they move pretty quick. They get your food to you pretty fast. They've got lots of different seating options for kids. They've got the big cradles that you can put the baby car seat in when they're really, really tiny. And then they've got high chairs and they've got the little booster chairs. It's a really convenient place to bring kids, and the food comes out fast enough that you don't end up with cranky kids for too long. And they bring you bread early, generally, if you ask. So if the kids are really hungry, it's a blessing. But they have, I don't even know what day of the week, but one of their specials one day a week is fried chicken. It's like fried chicken breasts or something like that. It's boneless chicken breasts. And that is probably my husband's go-to hangover or just wanting a big, hearty brunch, breakfast, lunch kind of thing is that fried chicken. Cool. Not impressed with Cracker Barrel. See, I don't think I would go there as much if I didn't have kids. It's also an easier place to get like vegetables and things with your food. It's a faster alternative to a sit down. It's better than fast food, but faster than most restaurants that we go to, or at least the one in our town is. It may not be that way everywhere, but at least in our town, it's busy enough there that the turnover is pretty fast, which I really like. And it's also pretty close by. I don't like going there on Sundays, though, because it's packed. Because everybody goes there after church, and you have to wait so long to get in. Oh, and holidays, too. Mother's Day or any places like that. It just takes forever. Smothered in hot sauce. That's the chicken? Yes. So, we joke with the amount that my 6-year-old eats, and I have another boy child that is following in his footsteps to eat all the food everywhere. We've been joking that by the time they're teenagers, we're just going to need to get annual passes to some sort of buffet and just drop them off and then pick them up in an hour and a half, and that will probably save us money as a family. Either that or we're just going to need to start growing corn and wheat in our backyard. Maybe make a rice field. We just need to get those big bulk bags of rice that you see on shows like Survivor or whatever. Just the big, massive bags of rice. Trying to feed them. We've been trying to make healthier choices as a family rather than all of the goldfish crackers and just all that junk, all of that non-perishable junk stuff that's on the inner aisles of the grocery store. They say you're supposed to shop on the outer aisles because that's the fresh food. And it sounds all well and good until, it just is less convenient. But we've been trying to buy lots and lots of fruit this summer so that the go-to snacks are fruit instead of crackers and stuff like that, which is mostly good. I probably shouldn't get into the downsides on stream because it's kind of gross. So, but you can imagine in children what the results of lots and lots and lots of extra fiber is. That's as far as I'm going to go. The good thing about streaming this foam cutting is that regular beer or ginger beer. Oh, that's a good way to say it. Ha ha ha. I know what you were saying. See, he wasn't actually asking you that. It was like code. So yeah, I was going to say the good thing about streaming this is it actually makes it go a lot faster than sitting on my living room floor trying to carve this. It seems to take less time. I mean, it doesn't actually take less time, but it makes the time go faster. I am not even halfway done with this one. So, but I think if I work really hard, it probably won't be on stream. It definitely won't be on stream. But I think I can actually get this finished up today. The carving, that may be too ambitious. It's probably too ambitious, but it would be really cool if it was. This foam stuff is so annoying. It gets everywhere because it's not staticky, but it sticks to everything. Yeah, it just sticks everywhere. It's a pain. So much fun. Yes. No. I already knew. I just couldn't figure out a way to say it without just saying your name. And I didn't know if you wanted me to say your name. So, but I wasn't being as clever as Drunk Dragon was. He found a clever way to say it. So yeah, no, I figured it out. It took me a minute. Haha. My phone was blowing up over here and I couldn't figure out why. But now I know. So, let's see. Can you hear the sound now? Because the kids are kind of being quiet, so. Now they're not. Now they're talking. This house is never quiet. Ever. Actually, I'm wrong. I was at the house the other day, and the kids were over at the grandparents'. And it was so weird because the whole house was completely silent. And it was weird and beautiful and weird. For having a job and most of what I do that is they're kind of extrovert sorts of activities and careers and things. I am not an extrovert at all. I'm kind of an introvert. I like my space. I like my silent time. I like sitting in a room and reading a book or being by myself. That's my recharge time. And there's not a lot of being by yourself once you have kids. You can't be by yourself in the bathroom without somebody walking in. Right? I need this. I need that. At least they're getting to the point, or at least the oldest is getting to the point where he realizes that interrupting somebody in the bathroom is probably not the most ideal choice. And that a better time can be found. Like any better time. So now once the little one figures that out, we'll be all set. Which is yet another reason why 2 is an awesome number. My standard joke when people ask me if I want a third is that God only gave me 2 hands. If he wanted me to have a third, he'd let me have a third hand. Since I still have 2, I will take that as confirmation that 2 kids is perfect, for me at least. That's the cool part, just all the way down. 2 is perfect, yes. 2 is an awesome number. Plus, no more diapers anymore, which is awesome. We're almost to the point where we can just go on trips and do things and not be restricted by little ones who aren't able to do the same activities and that sort of thing. I'm looking forward to being able to travel places and not have to pack the entire house, and just be able to have everybody participate in the same way in all activities. You know, to be able to do things like, I don't know, like go to the Grand Canyon and, I don't know, do those, don't they do horse or donkey rides or something where you can like travel along some of the trails? Maybe this isn't a thing, but I feel like I've heard about this being a thing. Maybe you guys will know if this is a thing. Hi! I don't know what... Aw, thanks. Thanks for the cheer. So I set all this up yesterday, and I had widgets with little notifications and everything else. And it was all cool, and I tested it, and it was amazing. But it was linked up to, because I was testing it all on my like private channel, which I thought was a great idea. I was like, oh, I can test all this stuff out, and nobody even really knows I'm testing it because nobody's really on that channel. Until I started streaming and nothing was working as far as the widgets and everything went. The widgets are the little like notifications and things that just happened, and it was because you can't connect to two channels, and so I had to like problem solve yesterday afterwards and figure out what I had done wrong and where it had gone wrong and why I wasn't getting notifications and all of that, and figured it out. I have never considered myself a person who is good with computers in any way, but I am learning really, really quickly how to figure this stuff out and troubleshoot. It's been kind of a fun little adventure. I didn't even know what widgets were a year ago, or really even 6 months ago. I had a cat named Widget. I got her in Australia. She was awesome. She was like long, soft-haired, little, kind of a calico, mostly black, but she had orange and white. And the food over there for cats and dogs is so much better than the food here. People in general, like for cat food, there's a lot more of a push for fresh food, fresh like meat food. We'd go to the grocery store and get food for her, and it was usually kangaroo meat or something like that, which sounds so exotic, but I mean, and it came in these little containers, and you just like cut off a hunk and stick it in the bowl, and it was just raw meat. She loved it. That cat was so healthy. And yeah, it was pretty cool. But I mean, apparently that's something that people kind of do here, but it's not really something I've seen as a standard thing. I'm sure it's maybe available in some of the more exotic pet stores and online and things, but in general, it's just canned food and dry food and stuff like that. We actually now have two cats and a dog. And our youngest cat, whose name is Pumpkin, my 6-year-old named her, when he was 5, is just very sweet, but a little bit of a nightmare. And when we first got her, we adopted her from a shelter. And so when we got her, she was, I don't know, maybe 10 weeks old. And, you know, she'd already been spayed and she'd had all of her shots and all of that. And when she was about a year old, she went into heat, which didn't make sense because she had been spayed and she had had her shots and all of these things had been taken care of. Not that shots would have, but anyway. And it was really annoying. And we couldn't figure out what was going on because we had all the paperwork confirmation that this had happened and that she shouldn't be going into heat and all of this stuff. And by about the third month of her howling all night long, we had had enough. Like, we could not handle it anymore because this kitten was also pretty destructive too. And she was just, it was insane. So we took her to the vet. And the vet said that sometimes when they're spaying cats, that they might miss just like a little piece of an ovary or something, and just even a little piece could cause them to go into heat. And that, she could do surgery, but she couldn't guarantee that she could find anything because it could be something very, very small. So there was a chance that we were going to have to just kind of deal with this forever and ever. But that she could try. She could go in and she could see if she could figure out what was going on. So we debated it a little bit and we discussed it, and we finally decided to go ahead and bring her in and see if we could help, because we were miserable, she was miserable, everybody was miserable, and we figured it was worth a shot. So they went in and they did surgery, and it turns out that whatever quickie clinic they had brought her to get this initial surgery done, they had taken out an ovary on one side and a kidney on the other side, not the other ovary. So she was missing a kidney on that side, and she had a full, complete ovary. The vet showed us the full, complete ovary. So, which she was just incredulous. She was like, I don't know, because they don't even look alike. I don't know how this person could have messed this up. I would really prefer to believe that she was just born without one of her kidneys, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. So there you have it. So, so she has not gone into heat since, which is great. But the consequences of that is that because she doesn't have one of her kidneys, she doesn't filter toxins as well. So the vet recommended that we make sure that she's on an exclusively wet food diet, because it's healthier for her body, it's healthier for her system. Which sounds all well and good, except for the fact that wet food is way more expensive than dry food for cats, and way less convenient, because you can't just leave a bowl of food, especially if you're going to be out of town for a day. You can't just leave the bowl of food out and they'll be perfectly fine. You have to make sure that you're getting them fed at least once or twice a day, ideally. But the other part of it is because we feed both of the cats at the same time. We couldn't feed her wet food and the other cat dry food. It just didn't seem fair or right. And we were going to have to separate them if we did that. So we just resigned ourselves to going ahead and feeding both cats wet food. And we have to get the more expensive, like along the lines of Science Diet and that sort of thing, the more expensive wet food. But then we felt bad because we've also got this dog. And I am not a dog person. This is a little Pekingese poodle mix, little peekapoo. Adorable and sweet and means well, but just this yappy little thing. And she's just at the bottom of the totem pole, this poor dog. Our oldest cat, Puppy, her name is Puppy. We apparently decided to confuse our future children by naming our cat Puppy. But Puppy was there first, and then Boo came along. Boo is the dog. And so Boo was automatically at the bottom of the totem pole in our family because, of course, the cat is at the top. The cat is in charge of the entire house. And then there's us. And then there was the dog. And then our first child came along. And poor little Boo got knocked down another peg because now there was a child who took precedence over her. And then our second child came along, and Boo got knocked down another notch. And then the kitten, Pumpkin, the one that only has one kidney, she came along and basically tried to take over the entire household. So at any given moment, the older cat, Puppy, or Pumpkin are in charge of everything. And this poor little puppy dog just keeps getting knocked down pegs. So we couldn't feed the cats wet food and have the dog just eating the crappy old dry food every day. So that meant that we got the better food for her too. And so our pet food budget has increased a great deal over the past year. We started going to, just because it was such a pain to go to the store, to Uno Kid. No, we did not feed them the poodle. I'm not going to admit that that's a great idea. No, I'm not going to do that. That's a terrible idea. What, did I say that? Um, uh, it was a pain to have to keep going and buying this really expensive wet food. So we finally went through Chewy, like one of the online pet food places. So we get this big, massive box of food delivered once a month or so. But it's been really convenient, and it's kind of easier to be able to calculate the budget for the pet food when I know exactly how much is coming out for pet food, and it's all one big, giant purchase. So, anyway, I'm close to the end of this side of it, and then I have to flip it around. What time is it? So yeah, that is the story of Pumpkin, Puppy, and Boo. And Pumpkin's one kidney. Pumpkin is also a complete camera hog. I think it's the lights. She likes the warmth of the lights. The only reason she is not in here right now hogging the camera is because I have the door closed to this room, so she can't get in here. And I guess there's not really a place for her to sit. She would probably be trying to sit right on top of my work, which is another reason I have the door closed. So, but it's gotten to the point where when we're streaming out in the living room, at any given moment, there's at least one cat on the couch, if not two. And generally the dog as well. The dog who barks anytime somebody drives by outside. Even worse, if a package is delivered. My goodness, she thinks she's a fire-breathing dragon. She is protector of our house. Until somebody walks in the door, and then she either licks them to death or hides or ignores them. So... let's see how far my hand is getting off stream. I might need to move this over a little bit. Oops, now I'm messing with the camera. Wow. Oh, you know what? I can turn this way. And that way you can actually see. There's my hands. Okay. Oh, now I'm going at a different angle. It all feels different. I think, oh, that's going way deeper than I wanted it to. It's not looking through. I think I'm starting to look forward to being done with the foam cutting aspect of this project. Because this is taking forever. It goes through phases. I don't know, maybe a lot of people who are artsy craftsy feel this way. It goes through phases where it goes from calming and relaxing and just kind of this very zen chill thing to annoying because it's taking so long. And then it'll go back to zen chill stuff. Curly Swan, do you feel like that about your beading? Because beading has got to be something like this where I imagine it's just got to take forever and be this like really, really long process. What are some other dream stilt costumes you'd like to make one day? Hi Wolf, how are you? Yay! It's a wolf raid. It's my favorite kind of raid. Dream stilt costumes. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Up till now, most of the stilt costumes that I've done, and I say I've done, but really, I haven't done the majority of them. Like my incredibly talented costume designer mother, who is way better with a sewing machine than I will ever be, has been the main person. Like I'll generally design something or I'll work with her to design something and then go, I don't know how to do this. How do you do this? And I'll help with what I can, but she's just way more talented than me. But generally most of the costumes that I've had have come from necessity of some sort. this group is doing a fall festival, and so we need a fall costume. And then we talk about what sort of fall costume we could do. And, you know, in that particular case, we had actually, I've got a couple of different fall ones that I use. There's a main one that I use that's a scarecrow. That's changed a little bit over the years, but essentially it's long, dark brown pants that have kind of hay sticking out from them and scarecrow patches. And then there's like a straw corset kind of thing with a little country orange top, and then a big straw hat with a bird on it. And I use that for a lot of things. And there's also an autumn fairy that I have that wouldn't work for this because it's beautiful, but it's more of a family friendly kids event sort of fairy, more along the lines of kind of a Tinkerbell-ish. The dress itself actually is the same pattern and design that she used when she was making a Tinkerbell costume for when our local theater group was doing Peter Pan. So yeah, and so this sort of thing, this dryad is not Tinkerbell at all by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going a lot kind of, I guess, darker than that. Maybe not dark as in evil, but certainly not Tinkerbell. So yeah, so I needed an autumn type costume for that. Wish I could amazing. Yay! I am. I don't know how much longer I'll be going for, but I'm here. I'm so glad you're here. Anyway, so there was the scarecrow costume. Oh, I told you yesterday about my pig costume for Pig on the Pond. Gosh, I've got a 4th of July Uncle Sam. One of the things that's really convenient about being a female stilt walker is that you can use stilt covers a lot more than male stilt walkers can. Basically, when most people walk stilts, they end up wearing stilt pants, which are just pants that are really, really long. And that makes a lot of sense for guys, especially. What I tend to use most of the time that's way more convenient, that I like a lot better, are stilt covers. And stilt covers basically start at just below the knee. It's usually fabric. This is going to be a little different, but it's usually fabric, and it kind of, you can button it or it's elastic or whatever, and it goes around the knee from about here on the stilts, and then it just literally covers the stilt. It's a stilt cover. The advantage to that is that the top costume doesn't have to specialize in any way. I mean, it could be any costume that you could wear on the ground, not in stilts. And then you just add the stilt covers to it, which can be really convenient, especially when you need to throw together a costume really, really fast. I have a referee costume that I actually ended up not using. I'll use it at some point for something, but I needed it for an event that ended up falling through. But it was at the last minute. And so I basically just bought a little like cutesy ref costume online, and I had a pair of black stilt covers anyway, because having black stilt covers is a great idea because it's a great kind of standard color that will go with lots of different things and that you can make a lot of last minute costumes out of. So I just bought the little costume and threw on a pair of black stilt covers, and I had my costume ready to go. So stilt covers can be super, super convenient. But they look a little weird on guys because generally your leg shows, the top half of your leg shows. And it's just, for certain costumes, it works for guys, but most guys' costumes tend to be stilt pants instead. So I love stilt covers. But anyway, so I've got a lot. It makes me able to have a lot more costumes because if I've got, for example, I've got a pair of pink stilt covers that I use with my pig costume for the Pig on the Pond event. But I've also used those same pink stilt covers for lots of other costumes. I did a quinceanera that was Candyland themed. And so I had a Candyland costume for that. I did, what else did I use the pink stilt covers for? Oh, there was an Easter event where I was kind of an Easter bunny sort of thing. I don't know. I had ears and I had a cutesy little dress and I had to do balloons. But yeah, I used the pink silk covers for that. So yeah, they're a lot more versatile. These silk covers, however, are probably not going to be as versatile because I don't know how many uses I'm going to have for big tree trunk silk covers. But that's okay because they're going to be really cool. Or not, but probably cool. I'm hoping cool. The costume, okay. What a dryad is, please explain. Oh, a dryad. Yeah, there are a lot of cool pictures online, and you probably can't see any of these back here. But yeah, tree spirit is a dryad. And if you look online, you'll see a ton of different interpretations of dryads. But you essentially get looks that are along the lines of an elven or fairy-ish kind of sprite being. Associated with a tree in some way, coming out of a tree, having leafy bits on them, that sort of thing. Most of the stories associated with dryads are that they have their tree, and that if their tree dies, or if they're away from their tree for too long, or if they're too far away from their tree, they will get sick or they will die, that sort of thing. And so I'm going along the lines of an autumn, like a dryad in the autumn season, because I wanted to add color into this. Winter was too barren. I didn't want it to be just sticks. And I had some ideas for frost accents, which kind of might have been cool, but there just wasn't quite enough color. Winter tended to be whites and blues, and whites don't read quite as well on camera. So winter was kind of out immediately. Spring was tossed out immediately because I didn't want it to be flowery. I didn't want it to be overly flowery, just pinks and stuff like that. That wasn't really the look that I was going for. And with the choice between summer and autumn had reds and oranges and yellows and lots of different colors. So autumn made a lot of sense. I ordered this wig that I'm really excited about that is like red and orange and yellow. It might be reversed. It might be red, orange, yellow. I can't remember. But yeah, it's got lots of different colors in it. And once that comes in, which should be, gosh, I'm hoping today or tomorrow. I've got to check the shipping info on it. I'm going to work with that. I also got some brown extensions that I can weave into it because my idea for it, my image of it is doing like dreads and braids and all sorts of things coming down, having it be very ropey and very long. And then doing some sort of a crown piece for it. And I ordered what are those things called? The showgirl helmets, the little hats that the showgirls with all the feathers and things wear, that have the little widow's peak here and then come up. So I ordered one of those so that I can put the wig onto it and then put the crown onto it and build it all into kind of one just stable structure that I can put on and take off. And so yeah, so I'm looking forward to building that wig. I don't know exactly what I'm going to put into it yet. I want to weave bits of, I don't know, vines and stuff into the dreads and the braids. I want to make it look very earthy. I'm hoping that the wig isn't too bright because I want it to have oranges and yellows and things like that, but I also don't want it to look Crayola. But that's one reason that I bought the brown extensions, is so that I can kind of weave those in too. So I'm hoping it will dull it a little bit if it's a little bit too bright. I thought about green too. I found this really pretty green wig online. Trying to check the chat, see if I missed anything. Autumn. Yes, I love autumn. But yeah, there was a really pretty green, but I was worried about going with the green since I was specifically going autumn. I thought that it was going to be a little too spring. So I figured it was better to go with the yellows and the oranges and the reds, and then maybe weave in a little bit of green through other things, maybe some mossy looking green or something. And I also found this stuff. I don't know, you can't see it. Okay, I also found this stuff. It was on sale at a craft store. And it's this like 6-foot length of mossy, almost, what is that stuff called? Almost like a Spanish moss kind of look. And it's green, but I think it'll still work for autumn. And I can always spray some brown into it if I need to give it kind of a little bit of a dyeing look. But I think it'll be really neat to kind of weave into silk covers and hair and maybe the bodice of my costume, however I do that. I'm going back and forth on bodices. I've gone back and forth from doing like a more of a like a bra top kind of thing that you decorate, because I've got some really neat ideas for that, to more of a corset kind of look, like a barky corset. I found some pictures the other day of kind of dryads with barky looking corsets, and I thought that that would be kind of neat too. So I think it's going to take just getting some fabric and trying out some different things and seeing what looks good. Because I don't want to go with foam for the corset, or if I go with foam, I certainly don't want to go with this sort of foam because it's too bulky and it's going to end up just, it's not going to have a nice tight corsety sort of look. It's just going to be big, bulky foam. So that doesn't work. I mean, I guess I could use a thinner foam to give it a barky look, but I also don't want two completely different types of bark. And I'm worried that if I use one type of foam for the legs and another type of foam for the corset, it's going to look too different. So I don't quite know. I'm sure if it's too orange. Alcohol inks. I haven't dealt with alcohol inks before. If the wig is too orange, is that what you're saying? Huh. I haven't tried dyeing wigs before. Tell me more about that, Curly Swan. Yes, crafty family is in the blood. So yeah, I haven't dyed synthetic wigs before. That's something that's kind of new for me. Supposedly the reviews on this wig is that even though it's a synthetic wig, people said that they were really happy with the fullness of it. And that the texture, the hair texture was very close to a realistic texture, which actually doesn't matter since I'm braiding and dreading it anyway. I specifically got a curly one. They had a couple that were a little bit longer that were straight, but as I wind it and twist it, I want it to be able to kind of hold its shape. And I mean, I can use spray and stuff for that too, but I figured it was going to be easier if there was some curl texture to the wig than if it was a perfectly straight wig. Because as somebody who, you can't tell now because it's all frizzy, but has had straight hair all of her life, trying to put curl in it, it's ridiculous. It's really, really tough. I've got to go back to all brown. I've been trying to wash out all of this pink. Because once summer ends, pink hair is not going to work for me. I'm going to miss the pink. It was green last summer. I loved the green. In fact, I kind of liked the green a little bit more than the pink. The pink's good, but I don't know. Maybe next time I'll go back to green or blue. Went blue for a little while last summer too, because I had to re-dye it at one point because the colors wash out really fast. And I had originally gone for blue, but because when they bleach out your hair to be able to put in the colors and stuff, if you have dark hair like me, it really doesn't fully bleach out. It doesn't turn white or anything. It's just a yellowy color. And so if you put blue dye onto yellow, it turns green. So it was more of a green. But later on, when I wanted to kind of redo it and make it a little bolder and brighter, I got a blue, a really, really, really vibrant blue. And it took a little bit better and it held a little longer. So it went from green to blue partway through the summer. But it's fun. It's my summer celebration of color and fun and not having to have natural looking hair. It's kind of different and interesting. So the green was better. Aw, thanks. Okay, so alcohol inks. This is something I should know. You can hear the cutting sound. Yay! Yes, ASMR with cutting foam. The green was definitely better. Alcohol inks can change metals, colors, etc. But you could use a sponge to brush darker colors into it. Interesting. I might have to try that out. We'll see what it looks like. I'll probably just do the dreads and the braids first to see what it looks like. And then if I need to darken it or dull it or something like that, then I can throw in bits into, you know, once it's twisted. Because I imagine, realistically, okay, so in real life, if she was a dryad who had orange and yellow and red hair, she's probably not taking a shower every day, right? So it would dull over time. It's like dirt and mud and sticks and leaves. You got to think realistically about the life of a dryad. Well, at least I'm on the other side of this. I got to flip it around. You can't really tell because I can't get the entire thing into frame, but okay, here, I'll move it around a little bit. So that side's done all the way to that side. And then all the way, you can see where it gets darker where the marker is still showing up because I haven't finished it yet. So, but I'm more than halfway done. Oh, I missed a spot all the way over there. I just saw it. Well, I'll get that in a minute. So, but I'm getting there. I could realistically have this done today. Not on stream, but I could have it done today. Greens and browns, the blues to purples. Yeah, I saw a wig that I wanted so bad that was the exact same style as this orange and red and yellow. That was purple and blue and green. And it was so gorgeous. And I wanted to design a costume just to have a reason to get that wig. So yeah, White Squirrel, when you were talking about, you know, what costumes would you love to do? At this point, I want to figure out a costume that I can use that blue and purple and green wig for because it was so beautiful. Might be fun to do I need to look through this is going to sound weird. I need to look through the like D&D monster manual or something and use that as inspiration for coming up with a cool, like, monstery sort of thing. Or, ooh, maybe I could come up with a cool tiefling costume. That would be something for the wig. Do horns, really cool, like, curly horns and things. Although I don't know how that would factor into stilts. That's the problem, is when you're coming up with stilt costumes, I want to have a reason for the stilts, not just, oh, this is something that would be exactly the same or just as cool. Without stilts, it's just that you're a taller version of this. Because like I had some ideas for some costumes, but stilts didn't really enhance them other than to just make them taller. And I was working for a little while with an idea for a banshee costume, because that with the stilts I could justify it because it would make like she'd be really tall, but essentially it ended up being, you know, white rags, which also don't work super well on a stream filming, but yeah, it's just, you're just now a really tall figure with extra length white rags coming down. So I didn't have anything that was super different or unique about it. I haven't thrown out the idea. It's just something I'm still working on. So I might come up with some variation on a banshee that's in the air. I'm thinking I could do some really cool makeup for something like that. But I want to go beyond somebody dressed in a bunch of white and gray, because that's just not as interesting. So I want to kind of keep thinking on that idea. Might come up with something. You've got to think realistically about the life of a dryad. Yeah, well, yeah, but I have to think through this. Oh gosh, I missed a lot of comments because I was paying attention to what I was doing. Hang on a minute. Stilt walking mermaid? Yeah. See, mermaids are tricky because I've seen so many productions of, like, junior productions of The Little Mermaid. And then I've also looked into the costumes from some of the more professional productions of like Little Mermaid and those sorts of shows. And it is so hard to do the tail part because it's going to be, you have to, you either try to go realistic, which ends up with people just walking around and unable to walk around the stage and it still looks kind of weird. Or you end up having to go kind of impressionistic with just kind of a fancy dress that flares out and has a like a lacy bit to represent the fin, the tail fin. And I've seen some really cool variations on it. I mean, actually, like honestly, my mom made some really cool ones because she's costumed that show, gosh, at least once. I think more than once, probably 2 or 3 times. But and she's done some really beautiful things. But I'm not sure that I could get away with it on stilts because I worried that it would just turn into weird mermaid look with blue stilt covers to represent water or something. I don't know. That's one I would have to think about. Filter on size categories. Oh, find something really, really tall on D&D. That's a good idea. See, but a lot of the monsters in D&D are these big, bulky, like, very male kind of monsters. Which, I mean, that's not a bad thing. But there's something natural about having that kind of long, lengthy look in a stilt costume, like that long, tall, and the more bulk you add, the more weight you're adding to the costume. I mean, this isn't going to add a whole lot of weight because it's foam, but like they had some costumes for Mardi Gras that were just gorgeous, but they were so heavy. They had these women in like the old fashioned like the plantation dresses, the big hoop skirts and everything, but the hoop skirts would be down to ground level on stilts. So they were just these massive, massive, beautiful hoop skirts. But those things were so darn heavy that it's just, and they're fine for walking in a parade. They're a little impractical for things like meet and greets, because you end up so far away from the people because the hoop skirt, to make it work, has to go out, gosh, at least 4 to 6 feet in every direction, which means people are going to be kind of far away from you. So it's a little bit weird, and they're bulky and cumbersome and all of that. Female demons. Yeah, honestly, okay, so I was looking at some of the winged costumes online, and I was thinking about things with wings, and I looked at the TwitchCon cosplay contest from last year. And anybody who's interested in costumes, I encourage you to go look at some of their costume stuff from last year or any other years. But they were stunning. They were beautiful. And this person made this costume with, it was 6 wings that came out like this. And they were fully articulating. Somebody was off stage or somewhere with a remote control to make them work. And it was the most stunning set of wings I had ever seen. It was so beautiful. And they were feathered. And I can't even imagine how long it took for this person to make these. And how they packed them and traveled with them. And oh my goodness, it was so intimidating. That the first thing I thought after seeing them is, nope, not creating anything with wings. I don't even know where I would start to make something nearly that beautiful. It was breathtaking. It was so breathtaking that in talking about it, I want to go back and look at it again. That's how beautiful they were. And I can't even tell you exactly how to find it because this was just random internet searching for, I think it was like TwitchCon 2017 cosplay contest, I think were the keywords that I was searching under. So I'm sure that searching under that would get you to pictures. But yeah, it was just breathtaking and completely intimidating because I have virtually no know-how with technical things of that nature, making like a set of radio controlled wings, I wouldn't even know where to start. So I will leave that to people that have that knowledge. So, ooh, a dragonfly could be really neat. I was thinking this might be really neat for things like Ren fairs, the dryad costume. What if you played around with some of the classes? We could have swashbuckler rogue stilt. I love the idea for that, but once again, I have to think about, is this just a really cool costume that happens to add stilts to it, but there's really no point to the stilts? And I mean, plenty of my costumes are like that. Like the Easter Bunny stilt costume that I used for the Easter event was just a semi-cool costume on stilts, but it would have been just as effective without the stilts. I just would have been shorter. You know, I mean, I only say semi-cool because it was a dress. It was a beautiful little dress, but there wasn't something super unique about it other than it was a cool little dress. But yeah, the stilts didn't really add to it other than it was good for that event, for that party, because, you know, it stood out in a crowd. It made it more festive because having a, you know, stilt walker at your party event is, you know, more of a wow factor than just having somebody in a Easter bunny dress walking around. But there was really no point to it. So when I'm thinking in terms of a costume that I might want to enter in something, rather than to just show up for an event where they just want a stilt walker, I try to think in terms of why that particular character should be really tall. And if I can't justify that, then it doesn't make a lot of sense. So, now of course I say this as I just spent yesterday describing my 9-foot tall pig for Pig on the Pond that I walk around in. But once again, a stilt walker walking around stands out a lot more than just somebody walking around on the ground. So it makes sense for an event like that where the whole point is to kind of just stand out from the crowd. But for a costume that I'm going to enter into something, I want there to be a reason for the stilts. So, ooh, we've got ideas here. Merilith, large fiend, 6-armed sword-wielding torso with a snake tail. What? Oh, I'm going to need to find a picture of this. Female minotaur. Cloven hooves, stylized legs, horns, and a giant axe. That could be really interesting. Yeah, I need to remember this. I need to write some of these things down. Actually, you know what? Because it's going to disappear in the chat, and then I won't see it again. I am going to write this down. Okay. Female minotaur. And I'm going to look up pictures of Merilith Fiend. What are the icons before the names? Oh, if you roll your mouse over those icons, it kind of tells you what each of them represent. So, oh, and Plaster Dragon is telling you now. But yeah, green is like a moderator on the channel, and like a star is a subscriber. Once you get your TwitchCon tickets, you get a TwitchCon badge, and they link it to your Twitch account. And so that the little 18 is that Plaster Dragon already got his tickets for TwitchCon. I do not yet. I will be. But I'm waiting to hear back from someone first with information that I'm hoping will be good information. But I don't know. And then once I hear back in the positive or negative, then I will get my tickets. Because if I hear back in the positive, I might not have to buy tickets. I might be able to get away with not having to buy tickets, which would be kind of awesome. So we'll see. It could go either way, but I figure I can be patient and wait for just a little while longer to find out. So the garbage truck just arrived outside. I can hear it. And generally when the garbage truck arrives, the dog freaks out and starts barking very, very loudly. And so I am very lucky today that she is either sleeping or just not listening, because we don't have a very loud dog barking in the background. You would never guess that a dog that small could bark that loudly, but she does. She actually ended up inadvertently a NPC, not really an NPC, but she is now part of our Monday night D&D canon for our Chosen Family campaign that's on Mondays at 6:30, because at one point when we were streaming, we were talking with one of our NPCs that is the father of a character in the campaign, who's just this pompous, annoying character. Gladly pompous and annoying. Our DM goes out of his way to make him as pompous and annoying as possible. But the dog just started barking in the background and was just incessant. Just would not stop. And we started joking about the dog, and so now we have, jokingly as part of our canon, that Chaudray Sr. has this really annoying yappy dog that we've never actually seen, but is irritating. So that's our dog, the irritating yappy one. Yay! So, oh my gosh, is it already 1:17? Jeez. All right, so I will go for about 13 more minutes and get to the very end of this, because that will be 2 hours. One of the things, in order for me to submit this, I keep using the disclaimer, if it's any good, but if I do want to submit this to TwitchCon, I have to have at least 15 hours of streaming time showing the costuming process, which at first I was like, I don't know how I would even begin to think about what I'm going to say or do in having to work on this for 15 hours and somehow stream, and I don't see how that's going to be at all interesting. But regardless, it is one of the requirements. So that's one of the reasons that I'm streaming this, is because if this is something that I think is good enough to submit, I will have that 15 hours of streaming under my belt. So, here we go. Okay. So yeah, so I've been trying to keep to nice round even numbers so I can keep in my head, keep track of how much time I've actually streamed this. Although it's becoming very, very quickly obvious that, I knew that this was going to take longer than 15 hours, but that we're looking at a lot more than 15 hours. And that I'm not going to have to worry about time, because I will have plenty of time of streaming under my belt by the time this is done. I mean, I'm not going to have every single aspect on stream. Like, obviously, I've worked on some of this foam cutting off stream, because nobody wants to see 18 hours of foam cutting. It's just unrealistic. But I'll have 2 days of foam cutting, 3.5 hours. So a small percentage of the actual foam cutting I've done. But hey, at this point, most of you who have been watching could probably do this in your sleep, because all you've been doing is watching me cut foam. You know, that is a cool sound. I'm starting to agree. It's a very satisfying sort of sound. Is that weird? Can you guys even hear that? It's weird. Why is that a satisfying sound? I don't understand. I'm holding Boo. Ooh, a drow. Oh, with a spider body. Ooh, wolf. I like that idea. I'm writing that down. That's really neat. Wait, I'm missing some of the stuff that was set up here. I keep forgetting to look at my chat. 18 because I'm cool. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so a drow with spider body. I could have just written Drider because I know what that is. But, you know, I wrote the whole thing. So, but that is a neat idea. I have to think about how to do the legs because each stilt leg is big. Although I do have peg stilts. That could be really neat. Oh, you held boots so you didn't freak out when the garbage truck came. Thanks. Are you telling me I talk too much, Curly Swan? Ha ha ha. I have the gift of gab. Ooh, Lolth in spider form. That's neat too. Well, I didn't realize there weren't female Driders. I'm sorry, I don't know as much about D&D monsters as you do, Plaster Dragon. All right, I could be Lolth in spider form, I guess. Well, that's good to know. I did not know that there were not female Driders. What if a female really, really wanted to be a Drider? A female drow, and she was like, maybe she's part shape changer or something? Every drow can be a Drider if they really, really want. We live in an equal opportunity world for drow. My peg stilts they're really cool, sort of. It's basically, I think like maybe 1x1 square cut peg essentially, and then you're standing on that. So like there's a foot plate, like the foot plate is here. Everything else looks pretty much the same. It's just, instead of all of this stuff underneath, it's just one stick. They're cool looking and they'd be great for the right costume. But I don't love them for most things because, I mean, obviously if you're just standing on two sticks, you have less stability. It's harder to balance. Which is, I guess, fine for a parade and things. But in those times when you just have to stop and stand in one place, you're just having to balance back and forth, kind of to stay upright, which is tiring and not as much fun. And it's really hard to take pictures and things. So what most people do, if they want to walk on peg stilts, and they want to be up for any length of time, or if they want to do something where they're going to have to stand in one place for any length of time, you end up having to have at least one more piece, like a tripod or something, you know, a wizard's staff or something as part of your costume to give you that third leg of stability. And so I haven't really done much with my pegs because I haven't had a costume. First of all, I haven't had an event where I wasn't going to have to be doing a lot of standing around and taking pictures and being able to just stand in one place and interact with people. And so it didn't make sense to use those. And I would have to have the right costume inspiration to have it be worth all that extra trouble, not being able to stand in one place for any amount of time. But for this Lolth idea, like this spider drow, because the problem with those is the foot plate at the bottom is so big that trying to do a spider leg where you've got 8 legs that are this size, I mean, that's a big chunk to go around, is unrealistic unless it's all covered in black and then the spider legs just come around the outside, which I guess could work, but then you've still got these black legs in the center. I don't know. But with pegs, that could actually work. The legs themselves, that could be 2 of the legs, and then you could build other pieces out. Maybe the staff you use could be some of the legs. maybe shorter ones so that legs come out from the body and then down the staff. So that would cover 4 of your legs, and then you just need 4 more. I don't know. I need to think about this. This could be really, really interesting. So you have to be wolf. Males who are bad get turned into them against their will. Well, maybe there is a female who wants to be a drider. Maybe that is her life aspiration to be a drider at some point. Equal opportunity drow. Thank you very much. I'm glad somebody agrees with me. Any drow can be a drider if she only wishes hard enough or pisses off the right person. I've got this whole story in my mind now being created about this female drow who just wants to be a drider and keeps spending time pissing off Lolth, hoping that Lolth will get angry enough to turn her into a drider. I'll probably never write this story, but it's funny to think about. So, well, I'm going to try to finish this one today. I'm a lot closer than I was when I started. Because I'm really, really getting excited. Ouch. Okay, I'm not bleeding. I'm really, really getting excited about the next step of the process and moving on past the foam cutting part of it. So I want to finish this so that I can move on and do the next thing. Although I keep forgetting that when these 2 big giant panels are done, I still have little panels that I have to do to match with these panels to glue to the top. So, you want to be punished, you can be punished. Is this still about the drow spider drider thing? Haha. I have to remember to get that piece over there. Do you see the one I missed? That's right. Hang on. There it is. Wait, my hand. Yeah, my hand's there. That's the one I missed. See that little dark spot there? I forgot it. I keep forgetting which camera I'm supposed to be looking at for each thing. The top cam. I kind of added at the last minute. I set all this up because I did this yesterday for the first time, and I set all of this up with just the one camera, like this one here. Hi. And I had everything ready to go, and then at the last minute I went, you know what? You can't really see much of what I'm doing. And then I had the camera turned down so you could see more of the table. But then every time I moved up to, to draw or to cut or whatever, my head was off camera. And so it was a bit of a pain. And so I thought, I just solved this by adding another camera and having the camera facing down towards what I'm doing. I suppose at some point I'm probably going to need to get extra USB hubs, ports, whatever the word is, for my computer. Because at this point I only have 3. So I have one camera plugged into one and another camera plugged into another. And then my mouse plugged into the third because it's just easier to do that than deal with those touchpads. I can't stand touchpads on laptops. They drive me up a wall. I do not work well with them. I like using a mouse. So I'm pretty stubborn that way. I mean, I'll use the touchpad if I really have to, but so I like having my little wireless mouse plugged into the port. So, but I suppose if I needed to plug in a third thing, like so far I'm really lucky because the microphones on my cameras seem to be doing well enough. I thought I was going to have to plug in the better mic, the Yeti, and so I would have lost the ability to use my mouse. So far my audio seems to be good enough, but I haven't had to do that. But if I break down at some point, I'll probably just have to go get one of those, I don't know what they're called, but those like USB hub extender things. These, you don't have to undo and start over. If I mess up what? I don't know what I'm messing up. I don't have to undo it and start over? Oh gosh, it's already 1:30. Well, you know what? I suppose I should probably go get something to eat, because so far today I've had a hard-boiled egg. So it's probably time to do something else. But next time I'm back on stream, my hope is that you will get to see something a little bit new and not carving polyfoam. Or at least you'll get to see a little bit more progress in this, because I'm really looking forward to getting to start on some of these other things. And I probably won't be streaming tomorrow because I've got kind of a busy day, kind of a busy / relaxing day tomorrow, but I'm not going to be around here as much. But yeah, so I'm going to have to look and see when this thing comes in the mail and at what point I can kind of go on to the next step. But if you are here and you are not part of our Discord channel, which went up, I think it just went up. Yay! Thank you. Thank you, Drunk Dragon. So if you're not part of our Discord channel, feel free to join. It is an awesome community of amazing people. And because generally I post there if I'm going online. Thus far, I mean, I've only done this twice, but thus far I have posted like half an hour before because I wasn't exactly sure of times. But who knows? Maybe we'll get a little bit more notice in the future. And yeah, it's just a general place. And if you are on that Discord and you have any questions, you know I'm around. Feel free to ask stuff in the common room or whatever, and I will answer. At this point, I don't really know what you want to know because I'm just doing what I'm doing. But yeah, it's been kind of fun so far. So thank you so much, Plaster Dragon. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me. Bye. Yay. Oh, you know what? I clicked end stream and it didn't end. So hi, I'm still here. I'm going to click end stream again and we're going to see if this works.